Good evening. Perhaps you could confirm that that is the case. Can you hear? Good. Thank you for confirming that. Right. Good evening, everybody. Good afternoon and good morning, dependent upon where you are. Thank you for joining me for this Q&A. And now, if you would like to pose your questions, I will do my best to keep up, as there is a lot of text flying through. So, welcome to everybody. I see some very familiar names here as well. Thank you, Butterscotch. Somebody did comment that if you can't hear, to hit your refresh button, and that may well solve the problem. Okay, Angel Georgina asks, why does the narc get pissed off when you meet somebody else, even though you have been discarded? Well, first of all, as you know, the usual question that I point out there is that there is no such thing as a discard. We get pissed off if you are with somebody else for the simple reason you belong to us, and as a consequence, if we see that you are now with somebody else, then as a consequence, that makes us feel as if we've been criticised and wounds us. Therefore, that is why we're pissed off. So, as simple as that. You're welcome, JT. I'm glad that the videos have proven of use to you. Skittles Keeper asks me, what is it like being a teenager as a narcissist? Or perhaps you meant, what was it like? It was a fairly tempestuous period whereby I got up to lots of mischief and poor behaviour, according to certain people. Of course, at that juncture, I did not know that I was a narcissist. It's only with the information that I've been provided with as I've become older that I realised that that was the case. Empathet asked me, would you replace a broken TV? Or would you have it repaired? I would just replace it. There's no point having it repaired. Hello, Joan from New Zealand. You are up rather early. Faye asks me, HD, do you love yourself, or is it about self-preservation? I'm very sure many people do say that I love myself, but of course, I don't experience love in the way that you understand it to be, so I can't love myself. I have an excellent conceit of myself, that has to be the case, but certainly it is about self-preservation. You're right about that. Rocky1234, why can't we all victims just talk to other while ignoring him? Yes, go ahead and do that. You talk away. That's quite clearly the behaviour of somebody ignorant. Butterscotch asks, if I have an order of protection, will my narc still hoover? That is dependent on two factors. First of all, is there a Hoover trigger? And secondly, depends what the other factors in the ongoing dynamic are. So, for example, a mid-range narcissist who you escaped from and you now have an order of protection is very unlikely to hoover you because you escaped, which wounded him, therefore once bitten, twice shy. And then the fact that there is an order of protection, because mid-rangers like to be seen as being pleasant and good people, means that they would obey the order of protection for the most part. What is more likely is that they would hoover by proxy and in a benign way, whereby they would get somebody to speak up on their behalf and say, why are you being so cruel in terms of the order of protection, and so on and so forth. So I would need to know more in terms of the type of narcissist you're dealing with, what are the circumstances, what kind of empath you are, for the purposes of determining the fuel that you've given, the circumstances by which the relationship ended, and so on and so forth. So it's quite a detailed situation. Nita Tim, indeed I do. Thank you very much. Bonjour, Cal420. Wendy Savage asks me how old I am. I am old enough to know and young enough to do. You're very welcome, Betty Boo. Thank you for joining us. Learned Lesson asks, is it possible for an empath to become a narcissist? Nice easy one there. No. Although you will have some narcissistic traits, but it doesn't make you a narcissist. Thank you, Priscilla. I will make you a tape. John Jones, do you use drugs? I assume you mean street drugs. Yes, I do, and I have. Can I discuss drug usage and the narcissist, how it affects their personality? There's quite a detailed discussion and not really suited to here, albeit it is an adjunct to fuel, and that is why some of our kind rely on alcohol and drugs, be they street or prescription, for the purposes of generating something similar to fuel, and can develop a dependency in that respect. Of course, it also goes hand in hand with our sense of entitlement, our lack of accountability in terms of using those which are illegal, our sense of entitlement to overindulge, and of course blame others for the reason why we do it. Lance asks, as a greater HD, do you think you have better control over depersonalizing perceived criticism? I have better control over my ignited fury. The criticism still occurs. In some instances I will just laugh it off and find it more amusing. In others it will really wound me, but I manage to control my fury because the facade demands it, and more likely I will note what this person did and get them when they least expect it. Gina asks me what was my longest relationship. I assume you mean in terms of intimate partner, and in that respect it was 7 years, but there were different dynamics within that. Calforto, no, not cannabis. That makes you get too hungry, and also I have too much to do, so I don't want to sit around saying, hey man. Susan B asks, what is going through your mind to enable you to get aroused and release when pleasuring yourself? That's an interesting question. Usually relates to, like anybody, fantasizing about individuals, albeit mine would be more linked to issues of control, as opposed to other fantasies that people have talked about where they see themselves in a particular situation with that person that perhaps they've seen on the bus. Of course, in many instances, porn is used, and that is something that is pretty prevalent with our kind as well. And with my mind, for example, if I'm looking at pornography, one puts oneself almost into the film that one's watching for the purposes of control and direction. because I just see these individuals as objects that I am in effect, with the movie, seeing them move for me. And where this occurs in real life, of course, one arranges and poses people for the purposes of maintaining that control over them. Randy Andretti asks, why are you so certain karma won't come back to bite you in the ass in this lifetime? 2 reasons. 1, there's no such thing as karma. 2, if there is, it's meant to get you in the next lifetime. And so I'm pretty certain all will be good for me in this lifetime. Thank you, Yvonne. I appreciate you telling me as such and sharing it. Good evening, Fool Me One Time. Good to see you here. Catherine T asks, have you ever had sex with an individual and imagined somebody else? Well, who hasn't done that? And certainly I have. Many, many times. Narcangel, hello there. Which 3 of my books would I suggest for someone new? Fuel, Fury, and Escape. Mariah asks, why is wearing white shirts not acceptable in England except in funerals? Because you will either look like a funeral director or the office junior. Kim asks, how do I get my narcissist back? I assume you mean in terms of securing revenge, as opposed to getting him to come back to you. If it is a case of getting revenge, no contact's the most straightforward way, or the most direct, I should say, or you can read my book, Revenge, which also explains you how to do that. Tina asks, do I think narcissists who commit adult sexual assault are likely to have been abused sexually as a child? It is likely, but not guaranteed. Empathet asks, do you still hoover archived victims? Interesting way of describing them. Nobody's archived. There is always potential for a hoover. Oh, I see, Kim. You want him to come back. Why? Why on earth would you want to do that? The simple fact is that if you try to get us back, there are ways of doing it in terms of providing positive fuel, but ultimately it's our decision, and there is no guarantee that you can achieve it. And ultimately, if you decide, if this is in the dynamic of an intimate partner primary source, you want to be the one that always compromises, erodes your self-sense, your sense of worth, etc., then by all means, you may well find that that individual will come back and you can keep them. But there is no guarantee. You are subjected to our control. If you try to exert any control over us, well, we do not like that and we will reject that. Thank you, Debbie. I'm pleased that that is the case. Soul Surfer asks, how does getting fuel feel internally? That's a good question. It has a settling effect when fuel is low, so that if fuel is low and there is that irritation and restlessness and the emptiness rises, the provision of fuel provides a settling effect and removes it, and then it starts to create a sensation of power, which becomes greater and greater until there are parts where one reaches a situation of feeling impregnable, able to achieve anything, a complete titan who is able to do as he wants and achieve anything and everything. It's a powerful and, of course, addictive sensation. Jojo, am I writing a 3rd book for the Disorder series? Indeed I am. It's nearly finished. I haven't been able to progress all of the writing as quickly as I would have liked, so thank you for your patience in that respect. Nita Tim, am I married? Is that a proposal, Nita? No, I am not married. I have been in the past, but I am not now. JT asks, did you take speaking lessons? No, I didn't. I did a lot of public speaking at school, though. And from what part of England does one get such a beautiful accent? Ah, well, wouldn't you like to know that? Colette asks, when you say hoover, what exactly is a hoover for, apart from fuel? Hoover is principally for 3 things: fuel, character traits and residual benefits, which is why we engage with you in the first place. But with a Hoover, first and foremost, it is to get that fuel, and it might be to rope you back in. That fuel might be negative fuel because we give you a malign Hoover, or it may be positive fuel because it's benign. But ultimately, it's most about the fuel, and then if we want to reel you back in to resume the formal relationship with you, then we will also look at getting the character traits and also the residual benefits. Mackerel asks, were you born like this? I think that there is a genetic predisposition. So in essence, yes, albeit that is not the totality of why I am as I am. A Gill. Relating to the stare, how often do you get called out that your gaze makes someone nervous? At least once a week, I would say. Carmen. I feel safe enough now. My ex is 2,000 miles away. Should I still be aware to Hoovers? Yes. Technology will allow it. Narcangel, what has been your proudest life accomplishment to date? I would say that it has yet to come. Jenny asks, do narcissists who are addicts refuse to accept it because it goes against their need to be in control? I assume you're talking about being addicted to gambling or drugs or alcohol. A lot of it will be linked to the narcissism itself. In essence, the sense of entitlement and lack of accountability means they don't actually see that there is anything wrong with it. Or if they recognise that it's causing a problem, then it's the fault of everybody else and not the relevant narcissist. And ultimately, that is, of course, the sense of entitlement, the lack of accountability, the need to maintain superiority, etc., all linked into the need to be in control. Wolves & Co., what colour are your socks then? Well, of course, somebody had to ask. And as I have mentioned before, they are from T.M. Lewin. And when you pull these socks on, it's like 1,000 pixies kissing your feet. They're extremely comfortable. Today my socks are navy blue with sky blue at the toe, the heel, and around the top of the sock. I always wear two-tone T.M. Lewin socks. So you can buy me all of those for Christmas. Seastar, apologies, do you dream when you sleep? No, or if I do, I never remember. China, cat art and animations, please stop going grey rock on me. Yes. Please respond to me. Why is my ex calling blocked after 1 year, drunk and leaving voicemails, telling me about sex with other women? Very simply, he's hoovering you, triangulating you with those individuals, and he wants you to respond either through anger or through hurt. So you're being hoovered. Tina, what is your most successful form of manipulation, as well as the most satisfying? Gaslighting. Soul Surfer, when you're on top of your fuel cycle, how long does this last for? In terms of the being at the top of the fuel cycle, it depends on the potency and the quantity and the frequency. So, for example, if I have had a huge argument with an intimate partner primary source who's in devaluation, the argument ran for an hour, she was crying, hurt and upset, that's a lot of negative fuel, and that would last you for several hours indeed. John Jones, did you get fuel from the physical act hurting your former girlfriend on the track, spiking her when you were running with her, or did you only do it for control? That was a particularly disturbing anecdote. I did it for fuel, and of course that is linked into the need for control, but her reaction of being hurt by it and angry later on was of course fuel. Stronger Wendy. Yes, they should, and indeed, I'm sure I'll organise that. Narc awareness. What if a greater narcissist moves on to someone after being ridiculously fake nice to you, to a person 8 years younger than them, and that girl can only open one eye properly? Okay. That's intrigued me as to why she can only open one eye properly. Is she a Cyclops, I wonder? Although that suggests perhaps she's got two, but she can only open one. Anyway, that's by the by, isn't it? She obviously provides excellent fuel. Which emotion would you like to experience that you are not experiencing? I'm perfectly happy with the ones that I have. I suppose it would be intriguing to feel what love actually is, because so many people go on about it. So my intellectual curiosity would want to experience that. But as I have explained in the past, the issue is, of course, that I only ever see the misery that arises from people being in love. Narcangel, I threw my panties, but they just hit the screen and bounced back. Well, perhaps if you washed them, they wouldn't be as stiff. Kim West asks, why does my mid-ranger refuse to address you by your name? That's because you're objectified, and it's part of the process of demeaning you. If you he may also provide you with a pet name, so you might want to read the article Pet, which is on the blog. Lacey71X asks, do you prefer the ready target or the one harder to obtain, stronger, intelligent, self-confident? It depends on the circumstances. If there was a fuel crisis, low-hanging fruit. Ordinarily, I would prefer stronger and intelligent, self-confident. Not only that because of the correlation with my class traits, but the simple fact those individuals will provide fuel for longer and be feisty. Maria asks, is there an intimate partner primary source which has made you lose control? There have been instances where I've lost control in terms of devaluation when my fury has been ignited. Yes. Hello, free spirit, sky dancer, love, peace and joy. Goodness me, that's a long name. Indy, is gaslighting a favourite of higher functioning? I think it's something that all of our kind will engage in, but certainly those that are middle mid-rangers, upper mid-rangers and greaters will do it far more effectively. Susan B, have you ever roofied someone? No, I haven't. I did audition for The Hangover, but it clashed with my schedule, so I wasn't able to be in it. Is Trump a lesser narcissist? Asks Kim Suggs. I would put him as an upper lesser, although apparently he's quite good at wrestling as well. Thank you, Miss Terry, that's very kind of you. One lucky. Are all compulsive liars? We tell lies a lot. James Everett, why is my narcissist lying about events, even when confronted with direct evidence? The reason for that, James, is that it's purely and dependent on the type of narcissist that you're dealing with, the lesser or mid-range actually believes their own lies. And when you confront them with direct evidence, their perspective and their automatic self-defense mechanism causes them, in their world, it's irrelevant. And what they see is you them, and that ignites their a greater, but also it's done for the purposes of fuel. Stronger Wendy, do you... Kirsty, when is the book about the beast? I think it's still being written. It's in hand, however. Jodie Allen, narcissists cheat. I see in terms of sexual fidelity. Not all, but most. JT asks, will you have more of these live sessions? I love this format. Yes, I intend to, and hopefully the fucking audio will be easier to sort out by then as well. Marilyn Bradley, will all narcissists hoover? Essentially, yes, they will. Although there may be circumstances that reduce the risk, but there is always a risk of that happening. Narcangel, do you have any conferences planned with your brethren? Do you mean in terms of, say, at a exhibition hall or something like that? Catherine T asks, do you actually want to... I always want companions. I want them for fuel. Nita asks, who will hurt more, lesser, mid, or greater? They will all hurt in different ways. Lessers are more likely to be up, damage property, make you feel guilty, and they will mess with you. Will look to ruin an area of your life, or as many as possible. So, in a way, distinguishing between any of the paper between them in terms of the impact. Con of the Quest, do you have aspirations of marriage? Rule it out. If I saw an... I don't want children. Tammy person leaving because there is a pie on your head. First of all, check that, and if not, could well be a stumbling. Tina Ray, best way for discarded source, disengaged, to turn the tables on the narcissist. Most of the time it's to go no contact. If you want to go further than that, read the book Revenge. Leslie Bixler, did you ever have an aha moment when you realise who and what you are? I did have a moment of realisation, which was not long after I left university, and a former girlfriend explained to me in relatively non-judgmental terms what she believed that I was. I didn't accept it, but I went away and read lots about it and realised that certain behaviours were applicable to me. Universal Explorer, why are the mind games so addicting? Because they're designed that way. Because it feeds into your emotional thinking, which clouds your judgment and makes you make bad decisions. K. Plunkett 0002, how do you make the narcissist tell the truth, if ever? The difficulty is how will you know that they're telling you the truth? D. Any key question to ask someone to see if they're a narcissist? If you read the 2 articles on the blog, How to Flush Out a Narcissist, there are a number of questions there that will give you strong indications. Audrey Galland, how is one supposed to get over someone like you? You're not meant to. That's the whole point of it all. But the way to do it, go no contact and purge the emotional infection. Exorcism explains how you can do that. Speaking of sex, dying to know favourite position. In control. B. Do men narcissists go through midlife crises? That a mid-ranger would do that for the purposes of ease and gaining sympathy. Other sources: spending money they've not got, buying flash cars, etc. What if you met a suitor as well? Still in touch with that woman at uni who informed you of who you are? Yes. Find her, rather, not you. The snip. Yes. You divulge this to an intimate partner, perhaps, or is this your control again? No, I would not divulge it. VK. I had a 4-year golden period. It changed when his wife asked for a divorce. Why? I suspect that because that was her exerting control, that he sought to assert control back over her, and rather than devalue her, he may well have decided that he wanted her back, and thus you were the one that became devalued. C-Star, please tell me about fuel. Oops, I would tell you more about what you wrote, but it's just moved off the screen. JT, have you ever been in a relationship with a narcissist? I assume you mean a romantic one. No, I have not. Buzz B, will you blatantly future fake while you hunt for a replacement before executing your discard disengagement? Yes, we will. Mavis Washington, what effect does no contact do to your kind? Please read the articles How No Contact Feels Part 1 to 3. In essence, it infuriates us, wounds us, ignites our fury. It tells us that we are not important. We hate that. It removes control away from us. But those articles expand on it by reference to the different schools of narcissist. Anna Smith, what is a narcissist trying to say by returning my stuff all of a sexual nature? He's deleting you. Con of the Quest, you presently have a girlfriend. Catherine T, how do you realize so well? How do you... I have a fantastic... Here after almost 4 months of no contact, because now work that I've done with the good doctor film, and one can see but can't feel. You would say that zodiac sign. What would you like? Which would go best with yours? On the go at this precise... I'm sat on my own in the... Shukri, do you remember people after you disengage with them? I do, but often I will behave as if I don't, because if it's an intimate partner primary source that has been disengaged from, then I delete them effectively, because I'm concentrating on other matters. Catherine T, what if some freak thing happened and you dated a psychologist? Would it bother you that they know so much about you? Not at all. It would heighten the games, because the games are always being played. Christine Keating, what is your goal by gaslighting someone? The goal is to mess with their reality to such an extent that they don't know left from right or their arse from their elbow. And as a consequence of that, it means they pour with fuel, they are unable to move forward, and they are subjected to my control considerably. Amna Omar, did you ever experience true and unconditional love from others when you were a child? No. Yvonne C, does your girlfriend know who you are? No. Will she be discarded once she discovers? She won't discover. Susan B, what does your girlfriend think you are doing right now? She thinks that I'm working. Kim Sikorsky, would a narcissist let you borrow a large sum of money with no questions asked? It would depend if the narcissist was wealthy, and it would depend if that was happening in seduction. So that certainly could happen. Why? Are you after a loan? Mimi, do you triangulate your present girlfriend with others currently? Yes. Marie Smith, am I a twin? Oh, she was expecting. No. But muscles, hello. Girlfriend an empath? Yes. Tenants, because there was, but the Hoover criteria was not reached. It is more likely to happen or doing something sexually. Well, I wouldn't have wanted to have been abused. Is there an intimate partner primary source that stands out above the others? I assume you mean in terms of those that I've interacted with. There were a couple that were more excellent than others. They're all decent. But my ex-wife was one, Fiona, and a girlfriend called Karen. Caroline was pretty decent also. Nita, is it possible for a high-level narcissist to live and enjoy his life with another narcissist? Yes. Thank you, Priscilla. I appreciate that. Adeline, have I physically abused someone? Yes, many times, but never women. Colette, you're quite down to earth. Indeed I am, although I am from the gods. Maria, you are working, AG. You're not lying. Exactly, you see. I don't really tell lies. Other people do. They're the liars. Yes, she doesn't know I'm doing this, of course. She thinks that I'm doing a different type of work. Anna Smith, thank you. So I'm a whore. Well, you're not. He's saying you are. And he is deleting me. Is it finally over now? No. What he's doing is he's hoovered you through that action in the hope that you'll respond hurt and upset at him sending that material to you. We will not let it be over. In our minds, from the narcissistic perspective, it's never over because you belong to us. You are the ones that have to make it over. And that's because you do so by going no contact. Susan B, what is your favourite food? During seduction, invariably it will be that of the person that I'm with for the purposes of mirroring them. But ordinarily, if I was to choose, if I was having something alone, I am very happy with a Thai jungle curry, because it's lovely and hot. Hello, Scarlett. Kim West, will narcs delete their whole families? That is possible, yes. Hajira, how do you get rid of a narcissistic family if they won't let you? You have to go no contact. C-Star, he says he wants a divorce but won't file. Why? Control. It's future faking. You've abused men. Yes, ex-stranger. Cheers, men. Deserve it. They've all deserved it. That's why I did it. Is it? And one can be pleasant to interaction during DVAC. Probably go and talk to them and flirt with them. Be obtained. Seeing this to help us or for gaining your own fuel from my interactions, etc. But I don't do it. I freely admit I gain fuel. Because the purpose of the blog, I gain the fuel that I need in my private life. That's where it's more appropriate and of far better potency and of a greater frequency and quality also. Am I doing this to help you? Not specifically, but the help that it provides you is a collateral consequence of why I do it. And therefore, if our interests are aligned in that respect, then it's all well and good. And also, the outcome of it is very helpful to people. So that means that ultimately those individuals spread the word about my work and thank me. I receive many, many emails and messages from people thanking me for the information that they've been provided with as to how it's helped them. And of course that provides a little bit of fuel. A Broken Wing, what's the most exciting thing about your future? The completion of the grand design. Jenny Danaher, is that why you had the snip? Do you not trust yourself around children? No, not at all. I'm just not interested in children. They get in the way. Amna Omar, were you a golden child? Of sorts. Jojo Bongiorno, have any of your ex-sources ever accused you of being HG? No. Ballerina 9, your shortest time between your disengagement, and first benign hoover of that particular intimate partner primary source. I would say probably about a couple of months. Fox happens when an overt and a covert relationship. Fox, I don't classify them. I find them too broad in mid-range and great. Say, for example, we have an overt, less mid-ranger. Nature will seek to exert control by empathy, so will complain much time about the way that they're treated. For a period of time, it will, but ultimately it comes traits that we have when narcissists collide that discuss: are you bored with people? Are boring. John Jones, are you afraid to die? No, but I don't want to because I've got too much to do. Stevie Ann, hello, good to see you there. With the comment, I notice many questions asked have the answers on your blog and books. Are these new followers or people who do not read? It's likely that some of the people are new, because there are a lot of names I don't recognise, and it's also the case that people want a quick fix. But yes, if you want more detail, do look at the blog, do read my books. Betty Boo, she's not just going to be cross with me when the grand design happens, believe me. A person, do you think writing the blog has changed you in any way? Yes, it has. Shannon Lee, are you married? No, I'm not. You're most welcome, Ballerina 9. Linny Tetz, are you married? No, I'm not. Shannon Lee, how old are you? I am old enough to know and young enough to do. Shelby B, how do you relate to your mother? I hate her, but I try not to show it because that's fuel. Shannon Lee, do I ever show my face? In my private life? All of the time. Angelina Georgina, if the narcissist tells you never to contact them again, are you free? Not at all. Usually, that is a malign hoover because you've interfered when they're now in the golden period with somebody else, or it's done as a form of devaluation, but it's not really meant. So do not ever be complacent and think when that's been said to you that it is over. Free Spirit, what would you consider your best asset in securing and attracting targets? Charm. C-Star, do you think there are quite a few lower narcissists working in mental health? I think there are narcissists of all schools working in mental health. Kim Sikorsky, what does it mean when he says one more thing, and I will own you while being intimate? He's exerting control over you, and seeing what your reaction to it is for the purposes of fuel and establishing the extent of the control that he has. Miss Terry, yes, that will happen, so don't worry about it becoming a video. That will happen. Ask the Young One, good to see you. HG, have you written more about Zero Impact? No, I haven't yet, but there's a lot of material on the way about that, which you will all find exceptionally helpful. Shannon Lee, what and when and why did you start doing these videos? I did a couple a year ago, May, and then didn't do anything more. And then around December, it occurred to me that some people receive their content purely through YouTube, rather than wanting to read books or read on the blog, for example. And therefore it seemed sensible to do that. And indeed, that has been borne out, because I've noticed that there is a different audience. I know some of my blog readers also listen to my videos because, of course, they love to hear my voice. But there are those that gain their content just from the blog or from my books, and others just from YouTube. So that's why I did it. Siobhan, when is your next book being released on Amazon? 2 weeks' time. Yes, Free Spirit, it will be worth the wait as well. Thanks, Salvmu. What percentage of the population would you estimate are narcissists? 1 in 6. Thank you, Miss Terry. I'm glad that you are. Claudine, I'm pleased that you found the blog so useful in that respect. That is excellent to read. Antistar211, what is the most narcissistic profession and which is the least? Again, I think that one might say that there are certain occupations and professions which inherently lend themselves to being narcissistic. For example, pop stars, actors. So you're going to get a lot of narcissists there, and indeed people with narcissistic traits, but often healthy ones, because the desire to perform and enjoying a crowd and becoming someone else, or being able to perform in front of all of those people, are narcissistic traits. I think certainly for example, people might think as well that healthcare wouldn't have a lot of narcissists there because of the need to care for people, but of course it does. Surgeons, for instance, I know several, and I would say half of them are narcissists. Susan B., I'm glad you approve. Relationship with the narcissist. Omar, can we talk about death? Yes. Thank you. I'm pleased that you think that. There's a lot of them, and I'm trying to answer as many as I possibly can. Ivona, what does it mean when the narcissist keeps a picture of both of us on his phone's lock screen after being apart for 5 months and him being involved with other girls? It's all part of keeping your hope alive, that there is still some feeling for you. He probably will do that for the purpose of triangulating with the other girls. If they ever see that phone, of course he may not let them see it. And if he is letting you know that, either by showing you that or telling you that, it's part of him hoovering you. Ginny Souza, can I overdose my narcissist with fuel? No. Sandra, yes, thank you for that. There are a lot of surgeons that are narcissists. Wendy, yours is a pilot. Wears a white shirt, you see. But that's okay, because he's a pilot. Patricia, have you ever tried MDMA? Yes, I have. I've been asked that before, and the simple answer before, and I know you'll want to ask, how did it make me feel? And simple answer is this. I wanted to dance a lot and do a lot of fucking. So I did both. Mimi, are lawyers narcissists? Some are, some aren't. But you do get Quamba there. Heather Lynn, what is the longest you've been in a relationship with a primary intimate source? 4 years. And I know that I was asked about the length of a relationship before and I said 7. That was because the individual was my intimate partner for 4 years and then became a secondary source for 3 years. Shannon Lee, was there ever a source you felt you could not live without? All of them during Seduction. China Cat Art and Animation. What is MDMA? It's an album by Madonna. Gattino, what year were you born? 19... Oh, I've forgotten the rest. Sorry about that. You're very welcome, Siobhan. Lacey71X, why are you happy when you've purposely pissed off a female? Well, it's not precisely happy, although I understand that it appears that way to you. The reality is that it's fuel. Usually men hate to hear their women yell. Yes, that's because we're trying to watch the football, and you shouting over it is taking away our satisfaction of watching it. C-Star, what shades of colour are in your bedroom? Satanic red and soul silver. You're welcome, Colette. I appreciate that. Jodie Allen, did I accidentally go to the Bill Cosby stream? No. I'm white, amongst other things. Jenny Danaher, are you from Surrey? Possibly. Indy, how do you know you do not feel happy like we do? Because I've heard the way that people describe what being happy is like, and I don't feel that. Thank you, Wendy. Yes, I do have a good sense of humour. Musician, 75. There are lots of teachers who are narcissists. They enjoy hearing their voice, speaking to a captive audience, and there are plenty of empaths that teach as well, so plenty of fuel to be found. I would agree with that. And certainly those that enjoyed applying the cane were narcissistic. Stevian, do I like ice hockey? If my target likes ice hockey, I love ice hockey. Adeline, he sounds like Hugh Grant. Maybe. But I don't bumble like him. Wendy Savage, yes, I am white, as I mentioned. C-Star, but white is my favourite colour. It is. I was joking, by the way, about the colours in my bedroom. Christine H, are all of these answers 100% truthful about yourself? Yes, they are. Shannon Lee, do you still talk to your family after your abuse, and do they know that you do this? No, they don't know that I do this. And I talk to all of my family, even though there are several of them that I hate, but it serves my purposes to interact with them for the time being. Heather Lynn, is this your real voice? Yes, it is. Shannon Lee, what made you start going to the good doctors and why? Does it help? What do you get out of it? Very quickly, I went as a consequence of the insistence of members of my family, and I did so because I wanted to secure an inheritance and they were going to stop me from getting it, and I was also threatened with a criminal and a regulatory investigation, and that would be dropped. Although there was no foundation to it, I did not welcome the intrusion and the time that it would be taken up in dealing with it. So, in order to head those things off at the pass and secure my inheritance, I agreed to go. I was also curious to find out about the process, and also I realised that it would be a conduit for me for gaining additional information, which I cannot divulge the basis for at the moment. Abba Baba, which emotion is highest for you? Straw. Nita Tim, please help us understand if it is possible to reach to a deeper level mentally with the narcissist. No. Although there is a deep level in terms of intellect, if you're thinking about any deep inner self, there's no such thing with superficial and transparent and empty on the inside. Ivona, can a mid-range narcissist become greater after educating himself about the disorder? No. Good, I'm pleased you noticed that, C-Star. Paedophilia is for only lessers and mid-rangers. All schools of narcissist could engage in that, but not all do. Soul Surfer, how do you feel about death from somebody else? Do you mean somebody else killing me? Well, I'd rather they didn't do it. Wally Marcel 1, has any piece of music ever made you cry real tears? Yes, anything by Justin Bieber. The pain that I experience is excruciating, and one molten lava tear spills from my ice blue eyes. Yes, Stevie, and there is a lot of aggressive action in ice hockey, but at the end of the day, they're all padded up. So, come on. I suppose it's entertaining as a spectacle. But I'm not Canadian, so it doesn't figure hugely in my life. How many primary sources have I had in my life? More than 20. Antistar 211, are there narcissists in the non-Western world in large numbers? Yes. Jay Watson, is there a chance he would want to drive me to the point of suicide? Quite possibly, albeit we would rather you be alive than dead, because a dead appliance is a useless appliance. Sharon Humphreys, after a long marriage, why do they bring up past 25 years ago and use to leave? The simple fact is, we will forget anything that we've done and remember everything that you've done for the purposes of manipulating you. We bring up the past regularly for the purposes of drawing fuel, to gain control, and also we will invent them. An Archangel, which body part on a woman are you most attracted to initially? It's not really a case of one body part, because it's the whole package in terms of the traits. But if there was something that I would look at, would be the neck. Priscilla, would I care if my girlfriend died? I wouldn't care, but I'd be disappointed to lose the appliance as a source of fuel. Suzanne, do narcissists evolve? Can a lesser level up to the mid-ranger or greater? No. Antistar 211, what is your favourite number? 1. Soul Surfer, do you feel pain of a loss or just the fuel? I feel the loss of the fuel. It irritates and infuriates me. How about a cerebral start behaving more like a victim? Yes, in terms of the cadre, there can be a movement across the cadre. We all have victim traits, because all narcissists are victims in our minds. And accordingly, certain narcissists play to that victim trait more extensively. Of course, victim narcissists do extensively, hence the name. But there could be an instance whereby, because of the need for fuel, those traits will become more prominent as a consequence of aging. Yes, Free Spirit, Justin Bieber does suck. Butterscotch, how long does a golden period last for an ex-partner? If they're an ex-partner, there's no golden period. Jenny Danaher, boarding school or grammar school? I went to a church school and I was a day student there. Rocky1234, I've not seen Nightcrawler, so I can't comment about that. But I think Jake Gyllenhaal's a decent actor, although I prefer his sister. The film Secretary was fantastic. I went and bought lots of red pens after that. Thank you, Wilson Co. I appreciate the fact that you would miss me. Yvonne C., am I afraid to be loved? No, I want people to love me, but I don't want to be attached to people. Catherine T. What will you do if someone you are seducing ends up getting a boyfriend or husband? They're not allowed to do that. How dare they? And if they did, well, I would bring about the demise of that relationship pretty promptly. Gatina, you seem like a Virgo because you appear to be very particular. I am very particular. Patty Kelly, do you like long necks? Giraffes, I love giraffes. I like a smooth neck. All the better to sink my teeth into. Absolutely right. Do I like Huey Lewis in the news? I do. I also like Phil Collins' Studio. It is stronger, Wendy. Sharon Humphreys, why did the narcissist block me on Facebook, then 2 months later unblock? First of all, he blocked you because if that was as a consequence of him disengaging from you, he was effectively deleting you, and he did not want you interfering in the golden period that he was having with the new person. And then 2 months later, he unblocked because he wanted to open up the channel for you to have hope that there would be some further contact. And him doing so after 2 months suggests a very short golden period, which is possible, or it may have been the case that in that dynamic you weren't the intimate partner, but you were an intimate partner secondary source, and the blocking was a corrective devaluation, and then he unblocked you because he wanted to engage with you again, take you off the shelf, in effect. Betty Boo, do I like being touched? No. You're welcome, Maria. I appreciate you reading them. Butterscotch, if you could be free of this disorder, would you opt to be? It would depend what the consequence of having to do that. I am very effective. Marie Smith, did the nuns or priests at school ever punish you for your narcissism? We didn't actually have nuns there. So when I say it was a church school, it wasn't in the sense that it was one run by by clergy. There was a priest attached to the school, but he was only there intermittently. So we had normal teachers, if you will, like everybody else. But it was particularly religious in terms of the nature of our assemblies and what was taught to us during religious education lessons, for example. And if anybody wanted to know, it was Anglican. Jenny Danaher, if as a narcissist you are more drawn to traits than physical attributes, does that mean you could potentially choose a male source as an intimate partner? Not for me, but certainly with a number of narcissists that is the case. Many of our kind, because having no concept of self, are sexually fluid in that respect. I would certainly flirt with a man in order to gain fuel, but I have no interest in kissing them or doing anything sexual with them. Sierra Grant, do narcissists enjoy the kind of relationships displayed in The Secretary? Well, what do you think James Spader was in that movie? LVNCSR, how do you celebrate your birthday, and when is your birthday? My birthday is on a particular date every year, and how do I celebrate it? Usually with a fresh sole for breakfast, squeezed orange juice, and a delicious Scottish cooked breakfast. I like haggis as well. And then by ensuring that I'm well looked after by the relevant primary source, or if she's in devaluation and criticising everything that she's trying to do to get right, and then heading out that evening with somebody else. So it depends. Antistar 211, is David Beckham a narcissist? I don't know him well enough. Certainly externally he has narcissistic traits, but I do think that he shows empathy, and I suspect not. Indy, HG, you say you do not feel very specific emotions. I believe you, thank you. However, I wonder, do all narcissists delete out the same emotions? it's not necessarily a conscious deleting of them, but leaving that to one side, we do have pretty similar emotional sets, if you can describe it that way, in terms of experiencing envy, jealousy, fury. Some may have them stronger than others, but we don't do happy, we don't do upset. Priscilla, I think HG was molested. You think correctly. Macri, can you cook? Yes, I can. My cheese on toast is formidable. Sarah Khan, how many intimate partners do you have now? 3. Why is my narcissist so cheap and acts like he has no money? Possibly because he is cheap. But if he acts like he has no money, it's because he wants yours, because your resources are his resources, and that's another method of control. Peaceful 283, what can I say or do to my narcissist that will make me less appealing? Very simply, stay out of the spheres of influence. Therefore, you only run the risk of entering the 6th sphere. And thereafter, maintain no contact. Don't look at his social media. Be wary of his lieutenants. So there is a lot that you can do to make yourself less appealing by building the walls high. Read the book No Contact, and you'll find it all in there. Stevie Ann, you have deep ties to Scotland. No, I just like going there. It's a beautiful country, and I like the history that one finds there as well. You're very welcome, Butterscotch. Betty Boo, it was by my aunt. Amanda Jackson, will a narcissist replace his wife for 10 years for another? Yes. Mimi, 3 intimate partners, so you are cheating on your girlfriend. Yes. If you don't like being touched, how do you cope with the tube? I rarely use it. It's horrible, too hot, and you don't know who's been sat there before you either. Oof. Grubby fuckers. Do the 3 women in your life now live in different towns? No, they're all in the same city as I am. Sierra Grant, what if you work with and live down the hall from the narcissist? You maintain no contact as best you can. When you have to have an interaction with the individual, you get away as quickly as you can. If you can't, you do your best not to provide fuel. Don't talk about him or her. Talk about yourself and make an excuse to leave, such as you need to use the bathroom, that there is a delivery arriving at your house, or there is a live cast from HG Tudor that you have to check. Do narcissists switch hoovers, asks Anna Smith. Yes, we do. Miss Terry, will I ever come to the USA? Yes, I do so through business from time to time. Fox Wade, why do narcissists marry fast and trap with children? We marry fast because we want to bind you to us, and at that stage we're infatuated with you, and therefore marriage, and if you read the article, the Narcissist and Marriage, or listen to the video of the same name, that tells you more about our views in respect of it. And we trap with children, again, in order to bind you to us, and because we see the fact that someone who's empathic, if they have children with us, they're more likely to stay. Of course, we will go because of our sense of entitlement, and also children are little mirrors for the narcissist. Faye, why would a narcissist move in with someone and move out 1 week late? Or later, I assume. Possibly it's as a consequence of horrendous interior design, or it may well be the case that they regard that person as an intimate partner secondary source, and they're keeping other options alive. Indy asks, Sam V says he experiences sadness. Is that bullshit in my view? He's a weird narcissist, appears schizoidish. Maybe that's his perception of sadness, but it isn't. I know he spoke a lot about pity, and I think it's probably self-pity. So that might be what he refers to, but dresses it up as sadness for the purposes of trying to gain sympathy, no doubt, by way of a little pity play there. No problem, Maria. I look forward to consulting with you in due course. Renounce Vale. Hello, HG. What is the main difference, according to you, of our happiness and your feeling of powerfulness when getting fuel? Yours is generated internally. Mine is a consequence of being generated externally. I gain powerfulness from good and bad things. You gain happiness from good things. Miss Terry, where can you buy tickets to see me live in person? When I do it, believe me, it'll be advertised. Seastar, could you meet me in Chicago? There's every possibility that might happen in the future. You may well have already met me but never realised it. Eva O'Donnell, I've been hoovered twice already. Will it happen again? Depends on a range of factors, Eva. Depends if there's a hoover trigger and if the hoover execution criteria has been met. But since that's happened twice already, for example, if you responded in a polite way and provided fuel, that will increase the risk of you being hoovered again. Ali Cat, have you ever told a new supply that you have been in a narcissistic relationship to gain supply as a poor me story? No, because I don't do pity stories. But a mid-ranger would do that. Indeed, many of them will say, oh, my ex-wife was a narcissist. A very common thing for a mid-ranger to do. Randy Andretti, why are narcissists blind to their self-sabotaging behaviour? Well, less than mid-rangers are, because they have no insight, and the way that they are configured is as a consequence of an inability to recognise it, because they have a completely different perspective. It's a self-defence mechanism that they have. JT, what breed of dog have you? I don't. My neighbour has one, and if it keeps barking when I'm trying to do videos, I'll go and feed it some chocolate and some grapes. Anna Smith, have you looked into quantum healing? No, I haven't. Jojo Bongiorno, what do you think is the most important thing to know about narcissists, to stay away from them? Katina, when did you cry last? I don't cry. Nita Tim, do I hate Jewish? No, as I mentioned the other day, I have no prejudices because I hate everybody equally. Yes, Shannon, I know, and I will be speaking to you very soon. I am looking forward to consulting with you. Thanks, Salvio, is Donald Trump a narcissist? Yes, he is. He's one of our gang. Good man. And you will learn more about that in the article A Very POTUS Narcissist, which you can find on the blog. Antistar 211, are BBC radio hosts narcissistic? I'm sure some of them are, but quite precisely which ones remains to be seen. I tend to listen to Radio 4 because that's an intelligent talk show station, and therefore the presenters there are not ones that I have seen as necessarily as narcissistic. Jenny, that's right, that's why I suggested the chocolate. Do they bug your cell phones? Yes, we do. Steve Yan, is Obama a narcissist? If anyone was going to ask me that, it would be you, Steve Yan. Yes, he is. If you want to equal it all up. Is Hillary a narcissist? Oh, all right, we know you're a Trump supporter. Yes, Hillary is as well. And is Bill. Soul Surfer, do you spy on people, like tap phones to see what your primary sources are doing? Yes. Elsa, indeed I am, and thank you for the compliment. Val, do you believe in the moral laws and that you reap what you sow? No. Stevian, are most people who want to rule over people narcissists? Generally speaking, yes. Narc awareness, will the stream be saved like your test stream? Yes. Siobhan Gallant, has anybody who knows you, HG, ever interacted with you on your blog or social media for narcissism? No. If they may have read it and I don't know about it, but I do not think that they have done so. Ed M, how did you develop charm, charisma? Some of it's inherent, and some of it's also based on the fact that I recognise that if you pay people attention and take an interest in them, identify the things which are important to them and mirror them, it's extremely effective, and so charm comes across that way. Wally Marcel, what is your favourite red wine? It is whichever red wine my target favours, but if I'm on my own, I would probably choose a Pinot Noir. Indie Sky, do you hate the traits we empaths have while being tied to them for fuel? I don't hate you for your honesty or your decency or your truth-seeking or being a love devotee. Indeed, I regard those as essential. I do resent being tied to somebody that I regard as inferior for fuel. Yes. Sheena Ray, do narcissists believe in heaven and hell? We will for the purposes of our manipulations, absolutely. Kim Sikorsky, do they tell you in a subtle way that they have your phone and house booked? Potentially. Marie Smith, have your antics ever been reported in the media? Yes, they have, but not by reference to my real name. Mavis Washington, does karma bite narcissists? No. Maria, has an IPPS ever realised you're H.G. Tudor? No. Susan B., if you could go back and change your childhood so that it was healthy, would you? I would have preferred to have avoided the abuse. If so, why do you not feel bad for hurting people? Because I have to do it and I don't have a conscience. Wolfgirl, do I enjoy a good whiskey? It's not my favoured spirit. I prefer gin, which Finlandia. But Trish Farron, why don't you? And I will look to make a video on that. Are you mirroring me? Do you have a fascination with fire? Much as I used to. Vaughan. Randy Andretti, have I ever made for it? It is, but it doesn't make you an arse. Spirit Sea Star. I was talking about the spirits. Either F5 or usually in the toolbar. If you imagine that the way to make myself taller than you is just for a temporary period of time. So that's the quickest way to make you tempted, but it would be seen through, I should imagine. Maria, thank you for compliments. Have I ever had an IP or IPSS to accept their discard disengagement? Most of them can't accept it. Do I think that Harley Quinn is history? I know of the character, but I don't know enough about her. I haven't watched Suicide Squad. Oh God, why cause me to prove? He's forcing you to prove it, to see if you will go through it. What would a weaponized empath look like to you? Somebody with one of my books in there. Asked you stay away. It is a factor that can cause us to stay away, but as I have mentioned before, into that, which means that the fact we've been on Mars is only one consideration. If you're dealing with a greater narcissist and you are an exceptional fuel source and it's very easy to contact you, even though you may well have unmasked us to other people, And of course, we will have smeared you so that your unmasking would not necessarily have had much effect. That unmasking in itself is not going to stop a Hoover in those circumstances. Angelina Georgina, my ex used the chant actions. I think you mean used to chant, actions speak louder than words. Was this his way of telling me what's coming 5 years? No, it's the way of sounding holier than thou, when of course we operate mainly through words rather than action. Ballerina 9, not worried if this is your unmasked voice, an acquaintance could identify you. No, I'm not, and nor would they do so. Address the buffering. Yes, if I'm able to. I'm not entirely sure how that might be, why that might be the case, as to why it's buffering, but I will do a little bit of research as to find out what might be causing that, and see if it can be addressed if it's causing a problem. Fuckers. Learned lesson. HG, how do narcissists feel when we grey rock your kind? Irritated and infuriated. Me, do you wear a condom to protect yourself from STDs? If I deem it worth doing so. D, what does it feel like to know you're pulling the wool over your supply's eyes? Entertaining. Maria, has a discarded IPPS ever been a treat for you? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Natalia, why does a narcissist discard his primary source but then continually watches her on social media? Done for the purposes of seeing what you're in order to feel unsettled, susceptible to being hoovered, and further control. Buongiorno, when you meet someone new, how in those circumstances? D, do you hide leering at as you would expect? So, somebody has just made a suggestion in terms of addressing the buffering. Viking Warrior, it's very kind. I'll have a look to see if that is the case whilst I continue to talk and see if there's anything there that is slowing things down. No, the only applications that are running are the ones that are necessary. But thank you for that suggestion. Marie Smith, why interject with profanities when you have such an expansive repertoire and delightful words? Well, it's not every other word, is it? And it's because that is what I'm thinking, so that is why I have said it. Wally Marcel 1, do you think Henry VII fucked up Henry VIII? More than likely, but if you think about it, the heir to the throne rarely actually saw his parents because they would have a nanny in effect, and the king would only rarely come and visit his son. And when they did so, there was clear expectations placed upon them, and also when you're a child and the heir to the throne, everybody has to do what you want. Everybody has to bow and scrape and kiss your hand and go down on their knees. So, in effect, you become the ultimate golden child. And in such circumstances, it's inevitable that somebody is going to become a narcissist who is royal. Jose Luis Dominguez Barragan, if you go to fuel to kill tons of people, would that give you a lot of fuel? If they died screaming, shouting at me, yes it would. Renee Saval, my answers are not synchronized with the audio. I see. Well, I'm not sure how that ought to be addressed. Katie Schmidt, does your ex-wife know you are a narcissist? She has suspicions, I suspect. Do I still have contact with her? Yes, I do. Susan B, have you ever had a girlfriend who had children? Yes, I have. Nita Tim, you scared to answer my question? No, not at all. But I think you'll appreciate the fact that they are flooding through, so I can't answer everything, and indeed, some will inevitably get missed. Batgirl rocks. What does it mean, HG, when someone repeatedly tells you to address them as master? Is it possible they're not saying it in jest, but actually mean it? Perhaps they might be a school teacher, I suppose. They undoubtedly will mean it, albeit in terms of they will say that they're joking about it, but will actually mean it for the purposes of exerting their control over you. Ballerina 9, any more radio interviews in the near future? There are a couple lined up, yes. Amna Omar, yes, I was married, as I explained earlier. Denise Guy, do you notice Hoover after you rip their mask off? I refer you to the earlier answer. HG, Maria asks, what made you marry your ex-wife and not others? She had particular residual benefits that I wanted. It also suited my need for the facade at that time, and also it was necessary in terms of presenting a particular picture work-wise. Antistar 201, is the USA the most narcissistic country? In terms of its population, I would say that it is not necessarily any more narcissistic than many countries. I would say that I think those that live in the United States have the greatest awareness of narcissism in terms of knowing about the subject generally and doing things about it. Renee Saval, what do you think will happen if you tell a woman you are interested who you really are? A mile away. Patty Callie, is it more fun to have sex with an attractive sexless saint? I don't know where you'd get one of those. Do they sell them? Anna Omnar, how do you imagine your death or funeral? I don't. Maple Bucket Rutledge, what a name. If an IPPS tried to kill me, would that be a good dose of negative fuel? Well, if they tried to silently strangle me, there would be some fuel in that, as it's a hateful action, but it wouldn't be a massive amount. But if they came running at me, shouting and screaming, and were trying to stab me, that would be quite a lot of fuel. Of course, they'd be dead before I would be. Ocean Sound 100, you don't believe I have 3 women. Okay, thanks for that. How many have you got? Narcissism awareness, I've asked 8 times. Ooh, I can feel the fuel. Do you remember your feelings when you were not a narc before abuse? I've already answered that. I explained that. I don't remember the feelings. It's like looking back on a film. Pay attention. Ballerina 9. Are your IPPS closer to your age or much younger? They are around my age. Jenny Danaher, what is your job? I can't say. HG, you're a sexy, dangerous man. Indeed I am, thank you. Stevie, my friends in the professional field of mental illness said we have a high concentration of narcs in this city. Well, there we are. Indeed, they sell sex bots now. I watched a program about that, actually. Funny enough, it was in the United States, and there were 2 gentlemen trying to develop them. And I found the program very interesting, but unfortunately, the creations were not only ugly, but prone to malfunction, and they would just have to be devalued and disengaged within moments. Katina, could you ever fall in love? I don't know what it is, so no, I can't. Laura Cotter, no, I don't have children. Jojo Bongiorno, do your former primary sources look alike, or is the way you pick them solely fuel residual benefits? They're all attractive. Some have green eyes, some have blue eyes, some have brown eyes, long hair, short hair, so on and so forth. Nitar Tim, if your girlfriend really good and sensitive and will bag you not to hurt her and cry near you, will you care and not hurt her? So I think you mean, is If my girlfriend is really good and sensitive and will beg me not to hurt and cry near you, will you care and not hurt her? No, it's fuel. Kim West, why would a mid-ranger smear the IPPS and not the other sources? Because the IPPS is the one that has let him down. Patricia Spacciarino, do you think you would like to experience some other feelings? Some of them, there's an intellectual interest in it, as long as I could give them back. Rebel Digistus, does narcissists feel loss of a parent as everybody? Not in the same way as normal healthy people. Of course, many narcissists make a huge song and dance at funerals, wailing and weeping, even if they're tenuously connected to the person that has died. All about making it about them, of course. Catherine T, what would you do if you walked in on a cheating IPPS? She wouldn't dare. But let's just say that happened, then the repercussions would be serious for both involved. Laura Cotter, do you avoid having them because of your MPD, or do you plan on having children someday? I avoid them because they take the limelight, they get in the way, they absorb your resources, and quite simply, the commitments that I have in terms of my professional activities and gaining fuel means I simply would find them a nuisance. Ballerina 9. Let's somehow I understand why you're saying it will save me hours of typing, but I suspect it won't. Ocean Sound 100. Are you born in January? No. And before you start, I'm not going through every month of the year. Katina, would you be hurt if you were cheated on? I wouldn't be hurt, but it would ignite I'd be wounded, and it would ignite my fury. Kirsty Riley comments, some of these questions are weird as fuck. You're telling me. Katina, he's too old to have children. No, I'm not. And moreover, as you may know, of course, men continue to produce sperm until the moment they die. And look at Mick Jagger, for instance. He recently became a father. Not that I think he would spend much time with the child, but there we are. Anna Smith, a narcissist has purchased a $5,000 sex doll. Why? Why not? Purely for the purposes of control and the fact that he's got the money, I would imagine. Laura Cotter, thank you. There we are. Charlie Chaplin had children at 91. So, right back at ya. Oh, now we're getting into the sperm discussion. Okay. Abba Baba, how do you feel at the moment? I feel perfectly content at the moment, and I'm enjoying the action with you all. So, thank you very much for doing this. DC Izzy, have you told someone of your abuse as a child to seduce them into a partner? No. Why would a narcissist use this in seduction? Of course, for the purposes of binding, getting sympathy, pity play. Machine Messiah, can I let a narcissist become a mid-range and so on? No. Katina, yes, my favourite band is Depeche Mode. Hello, Ladybug's Picnic. Good to see you here. Archangel, sperm discussion is better than gluten recipes. Yes, well, you would say that. Donna Dixon, why do I hate my mother? Because she's a hateful individual, that's why. She made my childhood an absolute fucking misery, and has tried to do the same in my adulthood, but I became more effective in dealing with that. You're welcome, Indy. Thank you for your thanks. You're welcome, Empathet. Ed M. To what extent does the attractiveness of your IPPS matter to you? In terms of attractiveness, I assume you mean the physical attractiveness. It's very important to me because I'm an elite and it's one of the class traits. So therefore, the individual must be well dressed, they must be beautiful, look after themselves. Stevie Ann, what if you been on an IPPS cheating with women? No, that's not cheating, I'd allow that. I'd sit and correct. I would probably organise this. It'll have been one of my lieutenants, most likely. Nita Tim, I send all my narcissist friends your videos. They hate me. Good. Keep doing it. And tell them thank you for the little bit of fuel that they've sent. Teresa, indeed I did. Thank you for your comment. Lynn, maybe I could answer the questions I am missing on another video at a later date. I'm not sure if they necessarily show on the video when it's played back, but I will have to, if that is the case, then I may well endeavour to do that, whereby I'll record a further video going through them. So we shall see, but thank you for the suggestion. Jojo Bongiorno, I've heard and read a lot about narcissistic mothers, but not much about narcissistic fathers. Are narcissistic fathers not as common? I think that is probably as a consequence of perception, whereby it stands out more if mother is narcissistic because society instinct more caring in the parents would be fairly as I mentioned, I will see if something it's an ship. I would not necessarily subscribe to the BDSM scene. Sexual activities are aggressive stance within those, but I wouldn't say that it is a particular lifestyle choice of mine. Thank you, a person. Of any interest in anything, Sarah Khan. When you die, who do you... Good question. Or such. Are there rules associated with it? Aware of that. So, therefore, I guess I get to choose. So, or IPPS you have someone on the up and up. And specs there, yes. I feel like you're answering my question and I can't hear it. I have answered it, if that was the BDSM. Okay, I'm just going to see if there is something that possibly to be done about the buffering. So I'm not going to answer any questions at the moment because I've had to go elsewhere. And I'm just waiting for it to get its act together to tell me what's going on. I see, yes. Now, it would be helpful if it might explain to me how one might achieve the removal of this issue, but it's not. So I think we might have to... What I'm going to do is briefly stop moments. That may... I have an... So that may resolve the issue. That's work for us. And then the buffering that you're all experiencing ought to go. So there's going to be, they say, a short break while I look at that, and then the broadcast will continue, hopefully without the irritation concerning the buffering issue. So bear with me, and I will be back in a few minutes.